a list of 6 podcasts to help you learn the English language. The best thing about podcasts is that they can educate and entertain you without you needing to pay attention to them. You can listen to them whilst trying to sleep or if you are cooking and cleaning. Here is our list of 6 podcasts to help you learn the English language. The first one is Voice of America Learning English. If you are interested in learning American English, the Voice of America Learning English is a great choice. They offer many podcasts for all levels from beginner to advanced learners. For beginners, you will find topics like everyday grammar and words and their stories. If you are at an intermediate level of English, you will find many more exciting topics which include science, culture, technology, and more. All of their podcasts come with a transcript if you could like to read along. You can listen to their podcast on either Apple or Google podcast or their website. The second one is the English We Speak. These are produced every week by the BBC, and with each episode they focus on different English expression or idiom that is used in the UK. If you want to move to the UK or learn British English, this podcast is highly recommended. The vocabulary is a little more difficult and is targeted at those intermediate and advanced English learners. You can listen to the English we speak on the BBC website or Apple and Google podcast. The third is English learning for curious minds. For those curious intermediate or advanced English learners that like to learn about the strange and amazing things about the world as well as improve their English, this is the perfect podcast for you. English learning for curious minds over many different topics, history to politics, philosophy to technology. The episodes are about 20 minutes in length and come with not only transcript but subtitles and vocabulary list. You can listen to this podcast on Leonardo English website to access the transcripts, subtitle and vocabulary list or an Apple Google podcast. Espresso English. The Espresso English podcast is made for beginners and intermediate English learners. This podcast cover a lot from vocabulary to grammar and as well as pronunciation with over 300 episodes, lasting between 5 to 10 minutes each. It is perfect podcast to listen to if you don't have much time, and it is available on Apple and Google both, and the Espresso English website too. The Joe Rogan Experience. This is one of the biggest podcasts in the world, which is uh, signed in 2020 an exclusive deal with Spotify. The Joe Rogan Experience has a wide range of interesting topics and English conversation, and there are over 1600 episodes about things like sports, science, politics, and comedy. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, as well as Apple and Google Podcast. Overheard at National Geographic. The much loved American magazine and TV channel also have their podcast. You can hear all about the National Geographic employees stories that they have had. You will hear some wild stories from photographers, scientists and explorers from all parts of the world. The episodes last about 20 minutes and you can listen on either Apple or Google Podcast, YouTube or the National Geographic website. And in last, there is a conclusion to better your listening skills in the English language. Podcasts are one of the many ways you can practice. You can also learn and improve your pronunciation, vocabulary, and your accent while hearing some interesting stories when you are on the go. If you are home, thank you. That's all for today.